All right. What's up, guys? Today's date is March 3rd, 2020. It's a Tuesday evening in Minneapolis, Minnesota, 7:48 Central Standard Time. I just want to talk briefly about a young brother by the name of Myon Burrell. He was He was the 16-year-old kid that was convicted back in 2002 for Tyesha Edwards murder. That was in 2002, and now he's 34 years old, and he is still in prison right now. And as you know, Amy Klobuchar, she just suspended her presidential bid as of yesterday, which was the 2nd of March. So she basically suspended, or not suspended, but I guess ended her presidential bid because she's been getting a lot of backlash. I'm kind of looking now. I'm looking at the notes right here. So guys see me looking now. That's what I'm doing. But she's received a lot of backlash from the black community, the African American community, because Burrell at the time he was convicted on with no evidence. There was no gun involved. There was no DNA, and he was convicted, like I said, back in 2002. And let me see. Also, there's some of the so-called witnesses. Their stories have been very inconsistent, and he was still convicted, even though their stories kept changing. And they've recanted a lot of their previous statements or testimony that because they were said that Burrell was the gunman, was the initial shooter. So that's why he was convicted. And a lot of them, these so-called witnesses, have recanted their stories, and a lot of their stories that were very inconsistent, and he was still convicted. Like I said, he was convicted with, there was no DNA involved, no fingerprints, and no gun. And I just recently learned found out that he also had an alibi where he was. And he also asked the police department, as well as the prosecutor, Amy Klobuchar at the time, to look at the convenience store footage or videos, proving where he was at the time of the killings. So he had an alibi. He said he was at a convenience store, but they did not take him serious. They did not pursue the footage. And at the time, so they were very, very, very. They didn't take it too serious. So it's like they wanted to convict this young brother. They wanted to settle the case fast. A lot of people involved had political aspirations. So he was convicted. Like I say, no evidence, no DNA, no gun. A lot of the so-called witnesses, their stories have been very inconsistent, and they also recanted a lot of the things they previously said to the investigators. Also, I found out that that a lot of these so-called witnesses were paid off. They were offered monies. There's a video that was just recently disclosed or brought to the public's attention, showing that the officers, the investigating officers at the time, were offering people anywhere from between $300 to $500 for some information. Even hearsay stuff, even based on hearsay, because they really wanted to get a conviction. I mean, you can look this video up; it's online. Whereas he will say, "Yeah, look, we'll give you this," and what I found out is that they didn't know that they were being recorded. The investigators, the cops, and this footage came out. They were basically giving like more like an incentive for their testimony, just so they could procure or obtain a conviction of Mr. Burrell, Myon Burrell. Uh, and the actual killer of Tyesha Edwards, there's a brother, I forget his name, but he said himself, he confessed to it when he was also locked up in prison. I forget his name. I'm going to do another video and I will reveal his name, but you could also look this up on YouTube. I forget the brother's name. I wrote it now, but I don't remember where I put it. It's in some of my notes. But he himself confessed to killing Tyesha Edwards. He confessed, saying that he was the actual trigger man, and that Burrell, Myon Burrell, was innocent. And they asked this brother, one of the investigators asked this brother why. It was a journalist. Matter of fact, I forget her name. She's the lead. She's a white lady. She said that she spoke with the brother, and he confessed, and he said that she's a reporter, investigative reporter, and she's according to her, he said that he felt guilty, that he did not. That it weighed heavily on his conscience because he killed a young baby, an innocent little girl. And that really hurt him right there. He said he felt bad for that. So he carried that burden. And it really hurt him even more so, or not, I won't say even more so, but just as much is when he realized that Burrell himself was had taken the blame, taken a fall for something that Burrell didn't do himself. So, and let me see, I'm comparing my notes. Also, right after the brother was convicted, Mr. Burrell, his mother died. He was just a kid, 16 years old. And Amy Klobuchar, at the time, she was the Minnesota, she was the prosecutor, the district attorney at the time. Now she's U.S. Congresswoman or senator. But at the time, she was the district attorney, and she denied Mr. Burrell a chance to go see his mother, because his mother died in a car accident. Burrell's mother died in a car accident. She went to see him, and on her way home, she died after leaving the facility, the corrections facility, but he was denied a chance to go see his mother. He was denied to go to the funeral and whatnot, because she herself, Amy Klobuchar, deemed him to be a threat to society, a dangerous man and threat to society. It's like he couldn't, like he wasn't going to be, like he couldn't have been shackled or handcuffed and have 20 guards around him. Come on, man, that's wrong. He was just 16 years old. He relied heavily on his mom. And he went into a period of great depression. Because he didn't have his mom anymore. Before she died, she comforted him. She was his pillar, his strength. And once she passed, that really hurt him. It really hurt him. It sent him into a dark space, a time of great depression. And she denied that brother the right to view his mother's body, to say goodbye to his mama. And so also I found out that I'm comparing my notes right now. It was found out because the first time it was overturned, the conviction was overturned when they found out that that a lot of the so-called witnesses, like I said, their stories, they recanted a lot of their stories, or they recanted their stories. The stories given to the prosecutors or the investigators, and also there was, like I said, no evidence. There are no fingerprints, no gun, no DNA. So his conviction was overturned, and basically at that point he should have been allowed to go home because there was no evidence. Like I said, no gun, no DNA. People's testimonies were inconsistent. People recanted their previous stories. That brother should have been let go. He should have been allowed to be free. He was a young man. Let him go. So what? According to my notes, according to the AP, because I got this off the Associated Press or website. According to the AP, Amy Klobuchar, she recharged him. She recharged Mr. Burrell again. And the first time he was convicted by a jury of his peers, if you will. Yeah, I got to do the research and see how many white folks were in that jury. Anyway, yeah, how many black folks were in that jury? Okay. So he was convicted the first time by a jury. Like I said, the case was overturned by the Minnesota State Supreme Court because there was, like I said, no evidence, no DNA, no fingerprints, inconsistencies in the so-called witnesses' stories. So they had to overturn it. He should have been let go. Amy Klobuchar, still, before she left office, she recharged him again. So Mr. Burrell and his attorney, I guess, they decided that it would be best that he should have a bench trial, I guess, which means the judge is the sole what do you call it, adjudicator, I guess. He or she has the full right or the full responsibility of rendering a guilty or innocent verdict. No juries involved, just straight up the judge. Basically testimony from the prosecutor as well from the defense, or arguments, if you will, from the prosecutor and defense, and the judge makes pretty much renders that verdict. How arbitrary, yeah. And the way I see it, both outcomes were very, very, especially the second one outcome or verdict was very arbitrary. And even in the first, I'm not even going to the first, because I'm sure they knew that that stuff didn't add up, that there was some inconsistencies in that first trial, but they still convicted that young brother. The jurors came back with a guilty verdict, which is bullshit if you ask me. Like I was saying, the Minnesota State Supreme Court overturned Mr. Burrell's previous conviction due to, like I said, lack of evidence. Not lack of evidence, no evidence, no DNA, no gun. Amy Klobuchar recharged him. The judge in the second trial charged him, basically supported the outcome of the first trial, rendered a second guilty verdict, and he's been sitting there for 17 years now. Now that she's a U.S. Senate, Amy Klobuchar, she was forced, like I said, like I stated earlier, she was forced to abandon her presidential aspirations. She had to step down due to public pressure, specifically, mainly from the black community, African American community. And now, I guess what they were saying is that now Amy herself is calling for the case to be reinvestigated, reopen the case, and just kind of evaluate it. And so the way I see it, I do have hope. I do believe this young brother is going to be set free. They just have to go through the procedure and whatnot, and just, I guess, try to save face. And they got to play good now because yeah, they're trying to basically save their political careers and shit. Amy Klobuchar should never become president. She fucked that up. She didn't botch the entire thing. So she's done. Her political careers in terms of trying to get into the White House, that shit is over. Also being U.S. Senator, she should not be allowed to be a senator at all. Her political career should be over with. Now, her successor, Mark Freeman, he has also doubled down and is pretty much refusing to budge and to look into this and to reopen this case. And so I guess the media have tried on several occasions to contact the prosecutor's office and speak directly to Mr. Mark Freeman as well. They've reached out numerous times to the Minneapolis Police Department and speak to them also about the corruption or the malfeasance that heavily plagues that department, and the illegal procedures that were permitted, or illegal procedures that were practiced, or that they engaged in when they were basically questioning the so-called witnesses. Because monies were offered, and people have to answer for that. And I hope this brother gets out sometime, very soon, and he needs to sue the hell out of them. He should sue them. He has every right to sue them, because he was 16 years old when he went in. So I take it he's 34 now, or he's going to be 34, if not already 34. So he did 17 years. My math is correct. Was that longer than that? What is he, 36? 30. Yeah, 34, 35. So, make sure my math is correct. I'm not that good with math. But, yeah. So, we'll see what will happen with this case. So, I don't know. I just hope the guy gets out. I mean, he's like 34, and that's not cool, man. He was in there for all of his teens, his late teens, and all of his 20s. So he was in there for the last few years of his teens, lost all of his 20s, and he's into his 30s now. So 33, 34, years old now. So yeah. So I pray that the brother gets justice, and the public have to step up more, add more pressure to even have this dude removed, Mark Freeman. He should not become the district attorney again. He should never be the lead district, the prosecutor, Hennepin County prosecutor. He should not be allowed to win re-election. And yeah, and there some heads got to roll on this, because this is a miscarriage of justice. This brother did time for a crime he did not commit. I remember this case very, very like it was yesterday, very extremely well. And I remember saving the clippings to that. I don't know what I did with the clippings. I moved since then, so there's a chance I misplaced or lost the clippings. I don't know, news clippings of this case, but yeah. So I think I'm gonna send that brother some money. His like I said, his name is Myon Burrell, Myon Burrell, Burrell. His inmate number is 211-839. So if anyone wants to write this brother a letter and put some money on his books, that would be nice. Just send him a letter of encouragement, and just look into this case. You guys look more into this case, because this is bullshit. Like I said, it's a miscarriage of justice, and something needs to be done. And I think that's it. Let me see. Make sure and the brother's been fighting and fighting ever since then. Fighting and fighting. And I watched an interview he did with the lady. I forget her name. Like, so I'm gonna do a second video. The news reporter. She did an interview with him while in jail or in prison, and he said to her that he's basically every day is like hell. He said he just gave up hope at one time. He really gave up. But he said there are other inmates inspired him to keep fighting and keep pushing. And he said this with the pressure and the support he's getting from the black community, he said that he feels that there is hope. He believes there's his case will be reopened, and when they really go through this with a fine-tooth comb, he'll be exonerated. He'll be released, and be able to get back home to his family. So like I said, very unfortunate. His mother died while he was in prison or in jail for a crime he didn't commit, and he didn't have any kids, not that I'm aware of. So him being locked up all those years, he was not allowed to produce kids, which is a travesty in itself. It's sad. So it's like, he couldn't even like create a legacy yet. It's not too late. He's still young. He's 33, 34. And he sounds like a very intelligent young man, Like I said, I started interviewing. He's very intelligent, very well spoken. All he had time was to do was read and research. So he studied for 17 years. He has he knows his stuff. He studied law books and read a lot, and he has a very extensive vocabulary. He held he held his own when speaking to the journalist reporter. Yeah, very intelligent kid. So, well, I'm gonna say kid, but young man. He went in as a kid, but still a young adult at this moment. So I have hope for the brother. So, and I pray for the family of Tyesha Edwards. Hopefully, some justice is rendered, that they just do thorough more investigation. Like I said, even though that brother, I forget his name, and I'm going to do a second video on that brother's name. He confessed to killing Tyesha Edwards, and he felt bad for that. He said after some time went by, he started feeling bad and guilty. It was eating away at his conscience, and then when he found out that someone else was charged for a crime that he himself committed, and he said he just felt just like his guilt was just compounded. So he said that he needed to and he felt in his heart that he had to do something. He had to confess, in which he did, but they didn't believe him. The authorities did not believe him, and they already had someone in there, and as far as they were concerned, that's it. And I think from the, if my memory serves me correctly, I think that guy died in prison. I think he died while he was in there. So he probably was facing some time. So in their mind, it's like, well, shit, he's facing some time. So maybe he's lying and maybe just trying to free this guy. So, but you can't convict, man. You're not supposed to convict, you're not supposed to convict if you have no evidence, no DNA, no weapon, no gun. And everyone's stories there are so much inconsistencies. But I mean, in America, that's just how it is, man. A black man, gets in the system, they don't care. They don't care. They just, it's all about, hey, look, we got to close this case. We're gonna solve it fast, and it is what it is. We got somebody, we got a conviction. We got to prove that we're tough on crime, because that's one of the platforms, things she was running on back in the day, about tough on crime, and she still ran on that crap, that tough on crime, when she was running for the U.S. Senate. So it was all about it. Like it was she had political aspirations. She still do. But her ass was forced to step down, and I'm glad. And she should never be voted back in. She should have to give up her seat. Give up your goddamn seat. Give her your Senate seat. get out your Senate seat, give up your Senate seat, and retire from politics. And you should be investigated. And the family should sue you. She should be sued. Amy Klobuchar should be sued. The judge in the first case, or the second, especially in the second case, he should be looked at as well. The investigators that offered the so-called witnesses money, they should be investigated. They should be all held accountable. And heads got to roll, man. Heads got to roll. Heads got to roll. And that brother, that young brother, and his family should sue. He should get a good lawyer. Once he get out, get a good lawyer and sue the hell out of them. Sue the hell out of them. You know. And he was saying he don't think. Mr. Burrell himself, he said that because he was asked by the reporter if he thought it was racially motivated, and he said, "No, I don't think it's racially motivated. It's just that, you know, is that they just wanted to close the case, get with, you know, because some folks had political aspirations." Well, yeah, that's part of it, but I believe, come on, man. You know, I understand he said that, and maybe he do in his heart of hearts you believe that, but I don't know. Maybe he just don't want to piss people off, you know, right now, because he don't want to ruffle the feathers, you know. But I believe it was racially motivated. A lot of times it is. It is racially motivated. But anyway, I hope that brother gets out. And thank you guys for hanging out with me for 27 minutes. Peace out. Have a great one.